Hello you wonderful people, welcome back to another episode. We're going to be taking the rear axle off, so we will make space for the trolley to mount on the car. Maybe we'll even start to finish up the trolley. So a lot of stuff needs to be cleaned off before we even start to unbolt the stuff. Like this bit here, the stabilizer bar, it had a lot of protection on it, so you need to clean this off before you get the access to the bolt. Otherwise it's very hard to actually unbolt it. Another problem with these old cars is this. Once you have cleaned off the bolt with screwdrivers or something to get the gunk off, before you take off the nut, gently hit with the hammer so the bolt gets to move. And when you have a nut on, you have a bigger surface area, so you're not hitting on the end of the bolt or on the threads, because that can damage it. Then, you know, spray something on so you'll have an easier time taking off the bolt in the end. Taking out the rear axle, we unbolted the strut in the boot compartment. Is just one bolt on either side. I have unbolted this one so it moves freely on both sides. I took out the panhard rod. It's just one bolt here. This has been loosened up. Now we're going to take these bolts out for this cross member. We can drop this bit here down, and then with the trailing arms unbolted, the whole section should come off. Okay, so right now, as you can see, we don't have the spring compressors, which is actually pretty dangerous. This is why we left the stabilizer bar inside. When unbolting the cross beam and this trailing arm, if you unbolt this too fast, the spring can uncompress and actually pull the front end down. Or if you would take out the bolts in the damper, the spring can actually push the rear subframe down and you can end up with an injury. As you can see, the rear trailing arms are rusted out, so we cannot trust that this will hold anything. So the plan right now is do it without the spring compressor. We're going to lower it down and put on the wheels, and then unbolt the dampers, and then slowly lift the car up so the spring can uncompress relatively controlled. Then we can take the stabilizer bar off and we can unmount the trailing arm. One more thing, if you leave the wheels on, you can then drive the rear axle away. You don't have to carry it. So So guys, we have taken off the rear axle, so we have gained access to the axle mounting points where the trailing arm goes, so we have a little bit more space. Over here, the trolley and the frame is being made. This will be the width holding beam. As you can see, we have here the plates that were cut from 1 centimeter plate. This will be mounted here, welded, so we can control the width of the car according to this measurement sheet. We also are now making the longitudinal measurements. In the front, it will be mounted in the front mounting point with this bit here. Because we have measurements now, we can easily control it, that we have the correct diagonal length and width of the car. This will help us control the overall chassis dimensions that are necessary to keep the car straight. I want to show you something very interesting. The rear spring seat, as you can see, it has holes here and here. It holds the spring like a true champ, with hopes and dreams. We're now going to take out the front axle, so we will gain access so we can mount the frame in it. It's actually just 4 bolts, one here, one on the other side. Here where the trailing arm connects to the chassis rail, this one was causing a little bit problems, so we had to persuade it with the large angle grinder. The mounting supports have been welded here on both sides. We're probably going to reinforce them with additional plates, so we might have a working trolley tomorrow. With taking out the front axle, we're faced with a problem that we don't have a jacking point anymore where we can lift the car, so we are now searching for solutions. So everyone, the trolley is in the making. We have one wheel on, but the rest will come tomorrow. The axles are there, the rear and the front one. So now we have a better access. This bit was particularly tricky because the bolt didn't want to go out. It's still inside. Thank you so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. This process is a little bit slow and it takes a little bit of time if you want to have the measurements right. So it pays off being patient. So then we can continue knowingly that we've done well. Thank you. Take care. Bye.